Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this possibly last ever episode of Married to Shade.
Why possibly last
You,
ever?
you know why. We'll get there eventually.
No,
I am your host, Feet Blurman.
I'm nervous.
With me, as always, my lovely wife, AJ.
Hey, y'all.
We are the only black podcast featuring the married couple with advanced degrees and remedial money. Yeah, and we're not feeling like that as much.
Yeah, we're doing good. We're making it do what we have. We're blessed. We're blessed.
We're feeling blessed and excited for
The future.
the future. The future includes a lot of things, but before we get to that, I want to first give a shout out to the Patreon patrons that support the Black Astronauts Podcast Network. The Black Astronauts Podcast Network is a network of podcasts where we discuss a variety of things from a variety of different angles. Politics, we got into religion last week, relationships, of course, pop culture, nerd culture, and everything in between. And we host a variety of shows. This is Married to Shade. We have the main Black Astronauts Podcast. Houston, we have a problem. The Room and Room Reviews. There's Insecure Reviews coming soon. But in order to hear the Insecure Reviews, I think, and I'm sure Ray will correct me, you will have to be a $10 level Patreon patron, or maybe a $5 level, I'm not sure. And Patreon is the website that you may or may not know of that allows you to essentially donate money to people providing free media and free independent media such as this, so that we can continue to do the things we do, keep our website afloat, put out better content, get better equipment, etc. And because we have so many great fans that have decided to do this, we want to say thank you. So we want to give a quick shout out to the following people: Peter H., Marshall L., Deloya, The Disrespectful One MJ, Shadrach C., Blacker Sean, Nutella is Life, Sadita H., Ron B., Veggie Vixen, Teddy Funk, Pasto Chene, Felt 5, Mr. Glade, Keith Andrew, Shlonda W., Wanga, Cameron B., Simo, I.C. Baldwin, Ashley G., Chonilla, Dre, Donald, Ophelia Ono, Charlie Snowflake, Angela D., Beverly S., Jordan H., Tamika for wash folks who take naps before the club but never show up. DJ, it's even weirder like in the middle now.
Yeah, because the list is getting longer.
No, it's in a different order.
Oh.
Maybe it's longer, I don't know.
Womp, womp, womp.
DJ Food
No,
and
I
Drink,
think I've heard some new ones.
Ariana, Just DeAndre, Devo G, Scrum Master Flash, Nikki M, Tasha Salad, and Shauna E. Thank you all very, very, very much.
I appreciate the creativity.
Yeah, well, I appreciate our fans
those.
so much. This is why it pains me that a lot of them are going to have beef with us, mostly you.
I'm nervous.
at the end of the
I really
episode.
don't know what's coming next.
Okay. Well, before we get there, baby, how was your day?
My day was good. No, my day was good. My
Okay,
day was
good.
good. I
Good.
had to, so on the business front, I had to let somebody go.
Yeah.
Had to let somebody go.
Had to
And
fire a
it's-
black man
Yeah, and it's
with a family.
it's
Does he have a
no,
family?
he doesn't have.
Okay.
He has a girlfriend, I believe. He has a girlfriend.
That's like a family.
Yeah. So that's never fun, right? And sometimes, like, I know it's coming. Like, I know I'm gonna have to let someone go, and it's like, when's the time, the appropriate place? But this kind of caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting that my client would want to let this individual go, so it wasn't good, but it had to be done. So that was
being
that.
a boss, babe. That's part of being a
That was
boss.
that. Yeah. Don't want to spend too much time on that. It's not the first time I've had to let someone go. Never feels good. Probably won't be the last. What else is going on, though? I have discovered new YouTubers.
These are not YouTubers. Ugh.
So they are YouTubers.
These are not YouTubers.
So let me let you guys know a little something new about me that I may have not. I
Is it
haven't
new?
spoke of it like on the podcast, right?
Thankfully you haven't, but I guess, you know.
So I
This is the
watch
last episode
YouTube. Shut up. I watch YouTube for hours, like long periods of time where I watch nothing else but YouTube. Now, part of that is because
I play
my
video games for
husband
hours.
plays video games for hours, right?
And you refuse
And
to
we
go
only have one
downstairs and
TV
watch
in the
TV.
bedroom. And I know some people are like, you shouldn't have a TV in the bedroom. But if we didn't have a TV in the bedroom, then I would never see Feek because he would be wherever the TV is because the TV is a requirement to play his games. So
Very
this
true.
is how we keep the marriage together. We have a TV in the bedroom and he plays games and I watch YouTube.
A lot of
And-
together alone time. It's good.
Yeah, it's really good. You guys should try it. So I literally get lost in the recommendations that YouTube gives me. And now I'm on like a makeup binge. If you know me in real life, you know I don't wear makeup. Like no makeup. Like literally no makeup. But I love watching it. I had a similar obsession with like hair tutorials
You
where
were
I was
all about a lace
convinced I could
front.
do somebody's lace front. If you know me, I have natural hair. Have had natural hair for a long time.
Haven't
now,
worn weave since or anything.
have nothing
yet
against
since.
weave. Now,
Nothing
don't get me
against
wrong.
it.
Nothing against weave. But just I haven't. It's been a part of my lifestyle and my beauty upkeep, whatever regimen in like years, probably since like 03 or something, freshman year of college, right? So I go on these binges and I believe that I can do things that I see on YouTube. So right now I think I can like do some great makeup, right?
Probably not.
I probably should say I wanted to say like beat a face or slay or something, but then that sounds
Yeah, it doesn't
natural
even sound that
when it comes out of my
if
mouth.
You can't even use the slang with confidence.
So, but I
It's-
know I can do it. So if anybody wants me to try to do their face,
if you want to
hit me
look
up.
like the extra from It, then
No.
let AJ have a
I
crack
promise.
at you.
I
Let her have a
promise.
crack at
I've
you.
learned. I've now watched so many tutorials that there's probably nothing. I am a makeup artist now.
I'm sure you got it. baby.
Yes.
Well, my
How
day.
was your day?
My day was cool, uneventful, but this weekend had an exciting event for me in that mostly me, finally took steps to starting a little garden in our backyard.
What are steps?
Consulting with the farmer.
Okay. Yes, we consulted.
Thank
with
you
someone.
very
Yes,
much.
true.
Thank you very much. Trying to throw shade early.
Well, I'm just trying to say when you tell people that you've taken steps to do something,
we took the
it
first
seems
steps.
like
We-
you've really started.
we
When I hear
gathered the-
steps, I hear beyond started.
Listen, this is how we're planning
makes
phase
sense.
right now. We know now.
I guess
what to
planning is a step.
It is a step. We can't just take seeds and throw them in the ground in our backyard. We have to know where these are the things I found out. We have to know where the sun is at its best angles in
Okay.
the backyard. We have to get an idea of what to expect from the soil and how to treat it.
Okay.
We have to plan out what we can grow based on the time we want to start growing. We have a lot of things we have to make sure we've assessed and figured out before we just start throwing seeds into the ground.
I'm happy these conversations are documented because I'm excited for this garden.
Mm-hmm.
But I promise y'all, in a couple of months, maybe a year, you'll hear us say, and we have now begun taking steps toward our garden because this garden has been
Years in the making.
Yes, years in the making. We have wanted to be a family who eats their own like vegetables, doesn't have to shop for vegetables for a long time, since probably before our sons were born.
Yes. There's been 3 things I've wanted to do for a long time. I've wanted to start a garden, build a PC, and buy a big ass TV. So one of those.
We're losing. We're losing in life because we only did one and it really doesn't
And it
count
didn't
because
last
before
for
we hit a
long.
year, it was already broken.
Right. But we about to be 2. And when this money situation cleans up a little bit, going into 2019, we're gonna have 2.5. We're gonna have 2.5, or really have 2. And then
Will we have 2? What will we have?
we'll get the TV back.
Oh,
PC
we'll get the
situation.
TV.
I don't know
Yeah.
when I'm gonna get to that. That's just
Yeah, that may
that's
be
type
a
of-
long
yeah.
time coming.
Maybe
Eh.
when our kids.
You know what I
graduate.
realize? You're just so simple, right?
Am I
Because a
simple?
garden, that's not going to cost us much. And then the TV, I mean, it was painful. I lamented spending so much on a TV anyway. I just thought it was a really dumb purchase that I grew to appreciate. And then as soon as I
You've told
appreciated
the
it,
story.
it was
You've told
done.
the story. If you're a Patreon
But-
patron, you can go in here right
Yeah.
when it happened.
Yeah, I really, like we literally went to the store how many times?
After it broke.
No, in attempting to buy it.
Oh,
and
like
then
7.
like we would attempt to buy the TV and then I would be like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
and we would walk out of the
You
store.
were right, babe.
But
You were right.
but anyway, like,
But-
you know, your dreams. I just want to say, I want to compliment you on dreaming so realistically.
Oh God!
Because a garden,
That is
a
why
TV,
our
and
show
building
is
a
named
PC.
what it is.
You know, my dreams are so fantastical. Like, you know, I want to travel the world. I learned
Rule
about
the world, destroy the world.
maybe all those things.
Yeah.
Maybe all those things. No, I do not want to destroy anything.
Eh.
But my dreams are like long distance, long term goals, and yours are just like
Next couple
hit
of
up a
months.
Walmart. You know, simple man.
Moving on. So today we're gonna have to start in a place I wasn't hoping to revisit so soon,
I'm nervous.
which is going back into one of your problematic phase.
Oh gosh.
And then one of I mean, he's not a problematic fave. R. Kelly and Charlemagne. It's just maybe the spectrum of fuckery and fandom and outrage culture and hashtag activism between these two. I think it's there's a lot of interesting stuff to pull out of these stories, I think. Other than, you know, fuck R. Kelly, fuck Charlemagne. I think we're both in agreement upon R. Kelly. I see Charlemagne as very problematic, but I also see a lot more. I think others do. But before we even start, we can both agree that sexual assault and rape and child molestation and pedophilia and all those things are bad. It can be
Very bad.
very much so.
No question there.
But let's get deeper than that. That's the easy part.
So this is why it's going to be the last.
And this is why it's gonna be the last episode. You know, there's a guy in the group that has like he hasn't added me specifically. I don't know if it's because he doesn't know who I am.
This is the Black Astronaut.
This is in our group chat.
Okay.
He's really coming at you now that I think about it. But
Really?
like, he's had at
Oh,
least 3
keep it
posts
coming.
about Charlemagne. He's like, "Oh, so this y'all problematic fave?" And
I
it's
told
like-
you, I felt so special after I announced that problem. Now this was before all the
This is
recent
when it was safer to
happenings,
say.
right? It was safer to say, folks. Hold up. It was safer to say.
You know.
Just a second, but
It
what
was-
this has nothing to do with Charlemagne. But I enjoy people coming for me, and I know
You
I said
do?
that before, but I just
Yeah, and it is no
am
shade to that
fearless in
particular
that
individual.
regard. Yeah, no shade for anybody.
He's
I-
entitled to his opinion.
Yeah, I
And I understand where he's coming from.
Yeah, I was about to say I appreciate opposing opinions. That's really what it comes down to.
And that's
I
what's
am
missing.
not. I don't.
Go ahead,
I
I'm
don't
sorry.
believe my own hype, and I'm not so committed to my own ideas or ideals that someone who thinks critically, who is more informed than me, can't change my opinion, change my mind. I think that's why my life is as rich and as full and as blessed as it is, because I'm flexible.
Because we're free thinkers, as Kanye West would say.
Oh,
as I
gosh.
continue to dig our
Oh.
ditch. As I continue to dig our
Yeah,
ditch.
you're just doubling up now.
No. So let's start with the low hanging fruit, which is R. Kelly and his 19-minute song that neither of us bothered to listen to.
No.
Called, ironically and paradoxically, I Admit It. So I'm from Chicago. R. Kelly and his music is it's in my blood. Is that a good way to put it? I don't know.
I don't know.
Like you're from
this is you.
You're from
'Cause
New
I've
Orleans.
never been an R. Kelly fan.
You're from New Orleans. So imagine if you felt like you couldn't listen to Frankie Beverly and Maze anymore.
Okay, they're not from New Orleans, but
But
are
they're-
a New Orleans staple.
yeah,
and
or-
yes, okay,
or
I understand.
A second line band. Like imagine if a second line band came on and you had to think about child molestation and
Yeah.
and serial sexual assault and
That would-
sexual
yeah.
deviance and whatever else. It would bum you out a little bit because it's not just I think what we fail to do is extrapolate the objective reality of bad about a person's behavior and the way that works in the context of individuals who just happen to be around. I just happened to be born in Chicago. R. Kelly's music was on the radio year round. It wasn't like you know, I don't know, Usher. It was maybe like Usher in Atlanta, if you recall how Usher was on the radio year round here. I'm sure, you know,
There are a
Juvenile,
lot of
Lil Wayne,
people.
anywhere you are, you know, like, so it's not just losing good music, it's losing a core facet of my childhood and youth and identity as a person from Chicago. And that's fine. I'll actually let that go pretty easily a long time
Yeah,
ago.
let
I
it
don't
go.
even. When's the last time I listened to R. Kelly?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I don't listen to R. Kelly,
And I'm not even on the
This
anti,
This
like-
is going to be really difficult because they say if you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all. But you can't not say anything at all on a podcast.
Right,
So
right.
I'm going to participate in this discussion, but I really just
Well, I
don't
don't have
have
much-
anything nice to
Yeah,
say.
I don't
about
either.
R. Kelly.
I don't. That's kind of why I'm talking around him and thinking more about what the wake of him is. You know,
I don't know. R. Kelly is just
bad.
bad. Just bad. Like I just don't. I don't know if there's any getting around it. So I totally understand what you're saying, which is, this was music and an artist that was celebrated, and his music is the soundtrack to a lot of experiences and things, associated with your upbringing in Chicago. I totally get it. But the depths of R. Kelly's
monstrousness. Yeah, and which is why, like, so
I don't know the word, but he's
always
just such a bad
yeah.
character that
I've always argued that you don't have to reject the art. Like, I've always argued this. I still watch A Different World, still one of my favorite all-time shows, produced by Bill Cosby. I don't watch The Cosby Show, but I've stopped watching that before, or stopped appreciating that before it had, his business. But like R. Kelly, I legit can't listen to, and that's, for me, that's different. So some people, they say that
for the most part is like really oversexed. It may, like, come for me if you will. I literally was never an R. Kelly fan.
You always hated R. Kelly.
Always
if I give you
hated-
some props.
Yeah, like I've never ever liked R. Kelly.
Yeah.
Like, there's never been a time in my life, and like, I would like to say, like, I was so woke and so ahead of things and so informed and in the know. I don't know when all these stories about his him being a pedophile and all his other just shenanigans came out. But it was just something about his music that I just didn't appreciate. So before all of this, I just never liked R. Kelly. So when all of this came out, it wasn't really a big deal for me, because I was like, I didn't like the guy's music anyway. And so now to learn that he is a monster, like,
Right.
it's like, okay, cool, not listening to it.
Right.
But I totally sympathize, because on the flip side, think Bill Cosby is completely guilty. Don't need to go there today or ever again. I've decided, I'm convinced. One thing I probably won't change my mind on. But I did love The Cosby Show.
Mm-hmm.
And so I get it. I get the pain, it just so happened with The Cosby Show that, which is what has happened now most recently with R. Kelly, is that, he's been blackballed. It's official. He has been silenced. Right? And so now you can't get his music.
Well, no, I don't think that's
in
happened
a lot
yet.
of places,
What
right?
they
No?
did, at least on Spotify, they're edging towards that, but they haven't done that completely.
Gotcha. Well, I'll say this. So just to finish the thought. So with The Cosby Show, I think it was taken off the air. I don't
Yeah.
know if it ever came back.
No.
But when that happened, I didn't go searching for it.
Right.
So when I, silenced in my mind and in my life and everything, in my consciousness, Bill Cosby, so went his art, even though I stand by the fact that a lot of talented people are also a lot like tortured souls, not all talented people.
Mm-hmm.
But
capable of
there's
being
a duality to a lot of people, and a dark side that, a dark side to a lot of people. And so I try to practice separating the art from the artist, but I guess there's a line
there's
for
lines.
me, and once you go so far,
Yeah.
I just kind of let your art go.
Yeah, the art loses quality. It's tarnished, especially R. Kelly's a slam dunk one. Cosby, you know, I think I've talked before about if you look into some of his old comedy, you can get hints of his fetish predilection for, you know, drugging women. Like he had a whole poem he wrote about Spanish Fly.
Yeah, I heard about that. I never followed his comedy, so I only followed the Cosby Show when it was actually on air.
But that's the easy stuff. The more interesting thing to me is the cognitive dissonance that you have to experience as you recognize that like loss of the appreciation for that art or that artist. You know, and how different people navigate it. Some people do it through denial. They're still like his shows aren't selling out, but they were still people going to R. Kelly shows
and that's
all
really,
this
that's
time.
That's really problematic because I guess so. You know, residuals from the Cosby Show. I don't know what they are now, but I know a little bit about how things work, and by now they would have tapered off greatly, right?
Right.
I don't think that the airing of the Cosby Show was doing anything to so it was not supporting Bill Cosby, right? He's not eating off the Cosby Show. Now I could be totally wrong, come for me if I am, but R. Kelly is a little different.
Yeah.
Like he hasn't stopped making art, and like he, according to this song, talks about the I did it, I admit it, whatever it's called.
By the way, just to clarify,
song.
this is all from reading the Cliff Notes.
Yeah. Not listening. So again, I don't indulge in his art, even if it's art to
It's hard for me
express
to
and
even
reconcile
listen to
his grievance.
The
his
Family
issues.
Guy version of the song with the boy singing.
Well, that's different. Like parodies are different. But
go ahead. I'm sorry.
But where was
you were explaining why going to his shows?
He's still living off of his art. Right. And so what I won't do is give you the capital necessary to wreak the havoc that he wreaks, to be the monster that he is. Like, I'm not going to give you money so you can, go out and do whatever you do to court underage or vulnerable populations of people and mistreat them and use them and abuse them for your gain. Like I'm not going to do that. So I think that's really where one of the places I drew a line.
Yeah, because
R. Kelly.
It's like if you're half asleep and you're chilling on your couch and the Cosby Show comes on and you don't change the channel, that is a passive, that's passively taking in the art, right? And I don't know. I don't expect anybody, if they're laying on their couch and the Cosby Show comes on, to change the channel. And I'm not going to come for anybody for not doing that. Flip side, if you heard R. Kelly was coming to your town and you said, "Ooh, I'm going to buy a ticket to go see R. Kelly," and you know that he literally has sex slaves on tour with him.
Yeah,
laughing.
It's just
it's egregious.
It's like purposely going and looking for conflict diamonds or something. It's far worse, I think. Maybe
I don't know,
but I
don't want to get into the moral Olympics because that's where that's the flip, and that's the flip side of this. Not with R. Kelly, because it's not really. I don't know if there's any sports to R. Kelly's trying to moralize R. Kelly. I don't think anybody's doing that. He tried to do it. I thought that was really I have seen some people seemingly have a positive reaction to the song, which I find flabbergasting. Is flabbergasting a word?
Based on what I know, and I also have to say that, so again, we didn't listen, did the Cliff Notes via a lot of YouTubers who, vlog gossip columns, right? And so all of them had to cover it.
Of course.
They basically had the same perspective, at least the ones I listened to. But one of the things I saw before I had to unplug was that his estranged ex-wife, maybe made a remix to the song.
Really?
Yeah. So I mean,
if
you care, world out there, and you haven't heard it or discovered that before this comes out,
maybe that will get to the real shit.
Maybe go and look it up. Even though she's a little problematic herself, but we won't go there.
Well, let's not deep dive too much into it.
Yeah, so
he doesn't admit. In the song called "Admitted," he doesn't admit to being a pedophile or a sexual predator.
I mean, but he's obviously so committed to the evils that he does that I wouldn't expect him to admit it. But what I wanted to say was, and I lost my thought just that quickly.
You should have, y'all. I love my wife so much.
I made like
she made a face that she hasn't made since like she was like 20. I remember those days.
What was I going to say?
You were gonna, you don't know. It defies knowledge and logic and reasonable thought to listen to a man for 19 minutes excuse like well trod out behavior of pedophilia and sexual predator. And well, I'm gonna let you go because I got a diatribe to get into. Go ahead.
Yeah. So what I was going to say is the only conversation you mentioned that there were folks on social media, who were it positively impacted, they felt something
they
for
felt
him,
sympathy for him.
And so my thing is, I think I am. Hurt people. It's like cliche, right? But I am a big believer in disrupting the cycle of abuse.
Right.
I don't think like people, and this is obviously there are exceptions, and this is not like an area of study or expertise for me.
Right.
But I feel like most abusers were subject to some sort of abuse, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And so I think if you're going to have a conversation about him and the song, I think the healthiest conversation to have is how do we disrupt the cycle of abuse in our families and in our spaces or whatever the case may be. Because outside of that, R. Kelly is just a waste. Because I
think you'd have to be a monster to hear any person talk about their abuse and not feel some form of sympathy. My problem with R. Kelly in this song is that according to the Cliff Notes, he didn't do two things. He didn't really admit that what he was doing was wrong for real. Or he didn't admit to being a pedophile, and he didn't talk about getting help. The thesis seemed to be, my bad, now leave me alone, come to my show.
Or feel sorry for me. I know he talked about financial issues and the fact that he's illiterate. Which
bro, you like pushing 50.
Yeah, which is laughable. Now,
but no, he's also dyslexic, which makes his illiteracy much more difficult to solve.
So this is what I say. I understand dyslexia. I totally get it.
Fucking amazing.
Yeah, I mean so there is talent there. That's what I'll say.
We'll leave
in the whole, you can't say, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all.
Yeah.
But what I will say is, you have all this money, and maybe I just don't understand his challenges, and I'm just not gonna go there with him. But I'm like, why wouldn't you invest in getting help so that you can become literate and find ways to deal with your dyslexia and possibly prevent people from taking advantage of you? Because I think that's like the song, like I was abused, I'm illiterate, I'm dyslexic, people took advantage of me, I need my music to make up for the fact that people took advantage of me,
and y'all are taking that away from me for no reason. I don't understand why y'all are trying to destroy me.
I don't know. Enough about Kelly.
But that's the thing, that like the deeper thing, again, beyond the obvious, is that R. Kelly is a monster of our society's creation. And we can't. He is because he.
I don't know. Explain that. I don't know if I agree.
Because he's not. So he's not like the depths he went to are inexcusable. But you're talking about a man that was abused in a time, especially back then, where boys couldn't be abused. That wasn't possible. So he probably never had the opportunity to even like understand his victimization.
Conversation I'm willing to have.
He also
Not specifically about R. Kelly,
but just in general, and I'm
that's
speaking
a
in
thing.
general to
Yes.
the greater context of how these monsters are made, and and the hurt people. How do we break the cycle context? We're also talking about social norms that don't accept or look kindly on getting help, on improving and taking care of mental health, on sitting still. Hypermasculinity, like there's all these things that go into creating an R. Kelly that my argument is always it's really not difficult to say fuck R. Kelly. You're not doing anything special by doing that. Like just like I said, it was easy to say fuck XXXTentacion, to say fuck Charlemagne, which we'll get to in a second. We can go back and say fuck Tupac because we had that whole conversation a couple of episodes ago.
We did.
Those things are easy, but we got to start getting in the muddy waters of this shit a little bit better, in order to I don't know. I don't like how people. I don't like the surface level nature of these conversations.
So I agree with you. Maybe in part. I am not. Well, no, I agree with you because I don't think you're saying it's a problem to say fuck these people.
Right, I'm not.
Right? So, okay. So then we agree because I don't mind that being your starting place, but I agree with you that then it's kind of like our garden, right? Like there are other steps that need to take place before we can flourish.
Right.
And so we need to talk about the cycle of abuse. We need to talk about toxic masculinity, rape culture. We need to talk about all of those things on an ongoing basis so we all evolve as a collective. So hopefully will lessen harm, right? Yeah. And there won't be as many people subject to abuse, or abusers will be more readily recognized. Abuse victims can recover better, won't be re-victimized, all that kind of stuff.
So the thing, and I'll use this to transition into Charlemagne. We are all very forgetful of who we were 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Some of us less time. We have incredible amnesia. Now, some people I'm sure were saints the whole time. I think that's great. I was.
You were. Just have to put that out there.
And
yeah.
like compared to a lot of my peers, people I respect, good men I know. I was a saint. I have some things that I regret that I look back on and say, ooh, that was real bad. Ooh, that could have went left. But not me. However, a lot of us really have completely forgotten where we came from. That toxic masculinity wasn't a switch. Patriarchy and hegemonic masculinity and get whatever, bell hooks phrase, word, or theory that that you happen to get from Tumblr about men. That shit wasn't a light switch. It didn't come out the ether.
Freaknik was a thing.
Freaknik was a thing.
It was a thing.
There are videos of our parents. Well, not our parents.
No.
But
our older cousins.
Our older cousins.
Yeah, not our parents.
There are videos of our older cousins sexually assaulting people at parties. Oh,
goodness. Those videos. I get lost in YouTube sometimes. And some years ago, I was lost and found Freaknik videos. Don't ask me how I got there. Don't know. And immediately they were disturbing off jump. Yeah. 5 seconds in, I'm like, no.
And motherfuckers want to bring it back. And the Greek picnic that happens in Atlanta every summer. And I had a kerfuffle about Q's on Facebook earlier this week. I'm gonna throw shade at the Q's, but it's not love. What is? I don't know what it is. But I'm throwing shade at the Q's.
This is going
the Q's
in a totally different direction than I expected.
Well, but no, because I'm speaking to something. The stereotype for Q's that they've wholly embraced is fuckboy antics. Point blank, period. You got licked on the face.
I did.
By a nigga that's a pastor now.
Is he a pastor?
Yes. Yes. Yes, he's a
Shout out to
pastor
his
now.
church.
He's a well, I don't
I
know
mean,
if
it's
he's
not
got
the
a church.
worst thing in the world.
It's not the worst thing in the world,
No.
but that's so boom. What you just said. You were what 18, maybe even 17. Did you come early?
No, I was 18.
You were 18 years old, and this 22-year-old nigga
It
licked
was-
you in the
yeah.
face in the middle of the cafeteria.
I don't know. I feel some kind of way because I feel like that's just not the worst thing in the world.
But think about all the
like
things
I
you're saying
wouldn't
right
hold
now.
that against.
All the things you're saying
Yeah.
right now are based on conditions that were built into you very early. Whereas, let a girl get licked in the face by a Q today. Very
Sure it
different.
happens.
It's probably still happens.
Somewhere.
Probably
I mean,
still
it's really not
happens.
the worst thing in the world. But I get what you're.
You get my point.
I get what you're saying.
You
I
know,
get what you're saying. So my problematic fave from some shows again. God, if you are clueless, just go back and listen to the problematic fave show,
Yes.
and it will explain it. But Charlemagne, he spoke of something that what is the saying? Like a broken clock is right 2 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
I think he talked about it on his podcast, but he
Right.
actually talked about the concept of moral honesty.
Yeah.
Some months ago.
No, that
And
was years ago.
Maybe it was some years ago.
Ironically, it was in the middle of almost. So let's backtrack a little bit.
Well, let me just say.
Go ahead.
Let me just say. So he talked about moral honesty, and I think because it came out of Charlemagne's mouth, all things considered, people totally looked past it or just disregarded it. But the concept, Charlemagne aside, was real in that it's kind of like what you're saying. We evolve. We have evolved, which is a great thing. We should all be personally and as a collective evolving, right? For the greater good of everyone. And so, but I think in order to make sure our evolution is one built in honesty and has a solid foundation,
yeah.
we
And it's
we
tenable
can't
and
forget-
maintainable.
It's tenable. Yes, we can't forget what we used to be. That is saying history will repeat itself. If you're, what is it? I don't know what
If
it
you
is.
forget,
I'm
I don't
full
know.
of. I'm just a bag of sayings today.
Yeah, but
I'll
like
work
only
on
half
that.
the bag. Like the bag has a hole
Yeah,
in it.
it does because I don't really remember them, but I know they're applicable. But either way, you got to know where you came from to know where you're going.
There you go. There you. Good job, baby. Right, and
You
so
didn't give
that's
me any
and that's
support
why.
there.
So to give the full background, Charlemagne has been in the news a lot the last 2 weeks because there was an interview of a girl who accused Charlemagne of, well, no, I don't know. He was convicted of some form of sexual assault and given probation years ago. And then that girl's story came to the forefront a week and a half ago, maybe a little longer. Then another story came to the forefront about Charlemagne talking about getting a girl drunk and giving her Spanish fly and having sex with her, raping her, depending on how you feel about it. And then another story, very last couple of days, was him raping his wife. That was the first time they had sex.
So that was the one I think they covered on their show today.
Right. Which they said is not true, but I don't really want to talk about like the truth. I don't want to get into that of like whether or not Charlemagne is a rapist. Honestly, if I'm keeping it real, like the shit with the girl in the Spanish Fly, it's hard to justify. The shit with the girl way back when that was supposedly 15, I honestly think he definitely did something that should have put him in jail. And I think that because that shit happened 15, 20 years ago when a lot of motherfuckers, especially people in Charlemagne's world, certain types of dirtbags, would have did shit like that and not even thought about it as wrong. The shit with his wife is a lot more murky, especially with his wife coming out and being like, you need to stop talking out your ass. But that's a whole nother situation. But what's interesting to me is the misunderstood value of what Charlemagne is doing right now. Because Charlemagne is calling his shit rape. Charlemagne is actually, in this weird way, bringing to the forefront the fuckery that he got away with and kind of shining it in the face of people like, not me, but other people like him that don't listen, that don't read bell hooks, that don't that watch Insecure and think shit is gay, or give me some other shit that's like really progressive, forward thinking, whatever the greatest hits that a lot of, you know, the new Negroes, us black intellectuals are into. It's a lot of motherfuckers that ain't touched it, ain't looked at it, ain't thought about it. They're just like Charlamagne, because Charlamagne is a nigga that made it. Like, he's a grimy nigga from South Carolina. He was a drug dealer.
Yes, he was.
You know, and he made it, and he has a voice that is full of fuckery. It is. But I think there's a real usefulness to him kind of exposing his fuckery the way he's doing and pushing the envelope a little bit.
So I find a lot of truth in what you're saying, right? But Charlamagne wasn't your problematic fave.
No,
so
he wasn't.
In preparation for the fact that I know people are going to come for me, right? You know, some have already come.
Yeah.
Some have already come, but I just wasn't here for it. So I let them go away. You know, Charlamagne. So I'm unpacking this in real time. So I'm over the story with his wife. I remember when he covered that on his podcast, and I'm gonna say, like you said, because she came out, right, and she kind of gave context to their conversation. He tried to do that as well.
He was shook, by the way.
Yeah, he was. He was very shook. I'm gonna not roll with Charlamagne. I'm gonna roll with her on this one, right? I think maybe, hopefully, that's fair. I do believe in his talking about his past and getting ahead of a lot of these things. So a lot of the stories that are being told now about Charlamagne, like, they've been circulating for a while.
Right.
You know, and they just hadn't caught, you know. And they're circulating because for a while now, as some of his peers and his mentors, the Russell Simmons and some other folks that I won't name, started to be called out, he proactively decided to get in front of his stuff. Yeah. Now, I don't know if I'm comfortable in celebrating that, right? Because that's PR 101. That's just smart maneuvering as a personality. So I'm not going to celebrate him for that. But I will say that you're right that in doing it, though, he is causing conversations to happen in spaces and people to be critical of their behavior that may still be with the shit.
We don't have access to them.
May still be, it may not have these conversations that a lot of people, a lot of woke people, a lot of people in our circles are having.
Right.
So, you know, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not, you know, it's just something like you I've observed. I don't know if I'm giving Charlamagne points for it, just to be clear. But I do think
I feel like that's lost in the conversation.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of people celebrating the opportunity to hopefully take down Charlamagne, which it doesn't seem like it's happening.
Yeah, I don't think so.
That are kind of missing also like the greater context to the situation and like why Charlamagne has persisted despite having some ugliness in his past. That like right now, like the dude from Rick and Morty just got taken out. The dude James Gunn from Guardians of the Galaxy, he just got taken out. Like motherfuckers are getting taken out for tweets from like 10 and 15 years ago.
So I'm not aware of their story. So if I can leave Charlamagne for a second, but this is so relevant to maybe how I feel about him or how I feel about some of these situations. So I'm not the sociologist that you are.
Right.
But I don't want to do another cliche. Just, you know, people are complex, right? Mm-hmm. I don't believe that anyone is all good. And there are very few instances in my life where I've met or come across someone who I believe was all bad. And so what I expect from people around me, what I try to do myself, is when I realize that I have done harm, when I realize that I'm doing harm, I try to interrupt it and commit to correcting the behavior so that I can alleviate, lessen, avoid doing the damage. Right?
Yeah.
And that's what I want. That's what I expect and want and desire from people that I support on any level, right? Like I don't expect you to be perfect. I just expect you to be thoughtful, and I expect you to be actively like appraising your behavior and your reach and your impact and your footprint on the world and people around you. And I expect you to grow and evolve. And if you realize that, hey, like something I'm doing is not right, like this is the way I'm treating people is not right, the what I'm using my platform for is not right, whatever, if you realize something is off, I expect that you would then be open, honest, and self-reflective or actualized. I don't know which one works. I think
reflective.
Enough to say, okay, I need to disrupt this in myself, right?
But that's the,
and so that is so I am struggling, y'all, with my problematic fave. But what I am looking to see, what I would like to see, because he has such a far reach, and can possibly impact a lot of people for the good and start a lot of very valuable conversations, is that he continues to have some of the conversations that he started.
Well, it's two things though. One, the people that hate Charlamagne don't care either way. They don't care.
Well, that's always
like the Twitter dragon does not care about growth and evolution and improvement and helping. The Twitter dragon doesn't care about that. The Twitter dragon just needs to eat. So that's why the guy James Gunn he made like bad pedophile jokes. I don't know the full story. He made bad pedophile jokes 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and a Trump but he said something bad about Donald Trump, and so like a Trump supporter found that shit and put it out there, started the movement, and now he's not directing a whole fucking movie. It's crazy.
Yeah,
for Disney. I
am afraid of living in a time, in a space, and I'm afraid personally for myself. Like I'm not, start at home,
Right.
I just can't stop. I can't stop. But at least it's adding levity to like this tense whatever conversation.
Right.
But I'm scared of operating in a space where people are not allowed to grow.
No. It's not even that.
Are not allowed to change.
Operating off of a space where a mistake you made in a time where that wasn't a mistake can end your shit in the future. You know what I'm saying? Like James Gunn didn't say no pedophile shit today. He said pedophile shit 5-6 years ago or 10 years ago when that shit wasn't all that cool then, but it wasn't cancelable at the time. Like if we were to retroactively cancel niggas, we'd have to cancel so many motherfuckers. Like, have you watched Eddie Murphy's comedy from the 80s and 90s?
Yeah.
And seen the homophobic, colorist, like coonish shit that he did that we all laughed at as kids? Like that's my thing. It's like it's not about like the people, not everybody. Some people are truly appalled and truly touched by the issues at play with these problematic people. And I get that. But the movement as a whole is it's not me too. It's just, but me, where's my likes? Where's my story? Where's my op-ed? Where's whatever? And I feel like it's wasted motion. It's wasted effort.
I don't know if it's wasted effort. I personally, yes, I guess I need guidance. I'm not on social media the way you are. So maybe this is available to me, and need to take the time to do the investigation. But I need guidance on, what do I need guidance? I need guidance on like the rules of engagement. Like, I don't believe.
But that's the thing. They're not any rules.
I am.
The rule is be popular and loved enough to not catch that fade.
Yeah. See, the older I get, I just realize that there's so much gray in life and existing. You know, like the people I've hurt in my life, it was never intentional.
Right.
It was never intentional. Now, it doesn't, like, the hurt is real. You know, the hurt is real, but it was never intentional. And so, like, you know, I don't feel comfortable judging people by standards that I either don't want to be judged by.
No, so I think you feel fine judging. I feel fine judging people. I feel fine judging Charlamagne's fuckery. I feel fine judging James Gunn and Dan Harmon, who also did Community. He's the creator of Community. I feel fine judging all these people. What I don't feel fine with is the undertow that comes with it. Like, now that we've judged you, let's all make an example out of you. There's a really cool. So one of my
maybe
favorite,
that's it.
Yeah.
I don't feel comfortable with silencing people without giving them the ability to like reconcile.
It's not even that. I'm just not cool with silencing people off of a whim. You know what I'm saying? It's not like it's a whim. It's whimsical, the shit that is happening in social media with the cancel culture and the call out culture. There's no rhyme or reason to it. Or there's rhyme or reason to it, and like 60% of it is like makes no sense. Again, we pull the Tupac comparison. Like one thing you're talking about is the irony is, if you go back to Charlamagne and these stories that are coming out, these stories are all a part of a series of conversations he had talking about him growing to understand rape culture. That's the irony. Like, he told these stories in the context of, wow, that was fucked up. Wow, I'm happy I learned something. Man, I feel like a lot of men need to understand this better. He did a donkey of the day on rape culture.
His wife came because he was doing some self-appraisal. Like, he was thinking over his life and his reckless behavior and, you know, and their relationship and trying to be better. But the nature of his podcast is they make light and laugh about things that a lot of people wouldn't laugh about.
Right.
And so it just didn't. I bet you
Madame
well.
Noir, who did one of these stories, I bet you there's a story about him talking about rape culture from that time period, praising him. That's the silliness of it.
I don't know.
Because when that was happening, people were giving him props. No, people were giving him props for it. That's right after that he did the book. Did a book tour. Motherfuckers wanted to boycott certain places. They wouldn't let him do his book. Like, it's so flaky and facetious, the outrage attached to a lot of these movements.
I'm not saying much because I'm just really conflicted.
You ain't shit for liking them. So
you know, it's not even about liking him. It's about, like, I don't want to participate in doing like continued harm to someone. Like, I'm thinking, okay, so if you and I haven't followed all of the stories. I knew some of them or some parts of some of them because I've listened to his podcast in the past. But I haven't read all the new think pieces about what's going on with Charlamagne. But assuming, based on what I've come to understand, that there is a young lady out there, because I think his a victim, right, has come out and spoken. Assuming there's a young lady out there, right, who believes and feels that she was taken advantage of by Charlamagne, I want to respect and acknowledge that feeling, and I don't want to be a part of an equation where she's being re-traumatized. Thank you for giving me the words, because I'm really struggling.
But
my heart goes out.
A lot of motherfuckers don't care about that shit either.
My heart goes out to her, and so it's like, but I also want to give space to someone to grow and evolve, especially someone who's getting in front of what they've done wrong, because I think that's a necessary story. You know, I think people need to see that. I think people should constantly be doing that, whether it has to deal with, abuse or just other things. I think you should always be kind of thinking about how you move in the world. So there's a gray that exists for me today. Maybe that gray won't exist tomorrow because, like I said at the opening of the show, I am always growing and changing and am always open to having my mind changed or changing my mind. But right now I just see it as gray. And I am going to get ahead of apologizing to anyone that triggers, because that's not my goal. But I have to be honest. And honestly, it's just, it's not black and white to me. I've never been on the bandwagon of silencing people, because I want my movements to be authentic so that I can stand firm. And it's just, I'm not there with the anti-Charlemagne movement right now.
I'm okay with the anti-Charlemagne movement.
No, I'm okay really with it happening. I can't say like I'm
not there either, obviously.
Right now.
But to me, it's more interesting to talk about the essence of what that movement is. So there's a really cool YouTuber that I like that I'm trying to find the name of him. I really actually suggest everybody to take a crack at him. He's a typical.
So I'm going to say I see a difference between reckless tweets and actually reckless behavior, right? Because the tweets, if you're a comedian or like an artistic expression thing, sometimes people get it wrong in their art. But I don't think that makes them just wrong, bad people. And I would like to think that most people can see the logic in that. So I won't put somebody who's just tweeted some reckless stuff that maybe is getting called out for their tweets on the same level with someone who actually has a criminal past. Like, right. Charlemagne has a criminal past. You know what I'm saying? We're not dealing with there's records and filings and conviction, plea deals, and just and the likes. And that's very different from, like, I said something that was off color that offended people, and now because of the culture or the climate, now people want to be anti me. I'm not behind that. Right. I'm not behind that. People always misspeak. I misspeak. We are recording ourselves so we can
this is the last episode, because
back to our misspeaking. So that's different. I just want to make that clear. In my mind, that is different.
But none of that matters though, because what I've been getting at with this whole series of these conversations about outrage culture is that it ain't what it acts like it is. Like your
problem is with hashtag activism. It's disingenuous. It's social media postulating and
posturing.
Posturing.
I found a YouTuber. It's called Innuendo Studios, and ironically, he actually did a
postulate is a word. Not sure.
It is a word, but that's not what the word I want to use.
No.
Postulate
I'm
like
just
hypothesize.
making sure it could be. No.
It is. It's like hypothesize.
No, it's like. Okay,
my argument is anyway. Innuendo Studios did a thing called the alt-right playbook, where he breaks down how members of the alt-right essentially argue and spread their messages and engage in quote air quotes debate, and the air quotes are because it's usually not really debate, it's just them doing some bullshit. And he said one thing that the alt-right one thing that the alt-right takes advantage of that is very common among liberal, progressive, woke people, whatever you want to call it, is the fantasy that all of us have of putting somebody problematic in their place. People on the left, or left-minded, progressive, woke, whatever phrase you want to do, we all fantasize, not all of us, many of us, me included, we fantasize that we're going to write that tweet, that Facebook post, that blog. We're going to have that YouTube video, that podcast episode where the motherfuckers that are wrong and problematic and are about rape culture and are about misogyny and homophobia and racism, we're going to put them in their place, and the world is going to erupt in applause at how erudite and intelligent and right we are. And that fantasy, I think, drives a lot of this behavior. It drives the need to get the hot take out first, to be the person that hates the first, that helps destroy the Twitter, that helps lead the Twitter dragon. Like, there's a lot to that. And in reality, and so what he says is, the irony is that the alt-right people, and people who are listening who are like me have realized this. Like, the alt-right person would say something ridiculous and stupid and racist or sexist or homophobic. Mm-hmm. And it's like 4 sentences at most. And you'll write this detailed, empirical breakdown of why they're wrong, and they'll come back with 4 sentences just basically repeating the same bullshit. And to the onlooker, the lizard brain, that unless you're, of course, polarized on one side or the other, you're like, hey, the motherfucker broke you down to only 4 sentences. You need this long ass paragraph that I didn't even read.
So you're like,
it is.
So you're like, I wonder,
changed my life.
I think I am impacted differently because I'm not.
You don't engage. You're not a social media person.
I'm not a social media person because everything you're saying makes complete sense for social media people.
Yeah, it does. That's
because I don't
social media people.
I am not a social media person, and I struggle with that. I'm all kinds of conflicted about that because it's so necessary, basically.
Right.
In this day and age, but I'm literally on one platform and I use it a couple
very
of
passively.
Times a month, maybe, but it's usually a picture post. So extremely passively. Otherwise, I have no real social media footprint. And so when things happen to people whose creative expression that I've appreciated, I deal with it, and this is no dig because we've had the conversation about social media being real life. But I deal with it in like a real life way.
Right.
Because I don't have the gratification. Like if I silence someone, right? Or if I continue to listen to and indulge and engage with someone, like I don't have the social media gratification for being on either side of the spectrum.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like
that's real.
I don't have if I'm on team, no Charlemagne or I hate Charlemagne, like if I'm on social media, then like there's a reward for that. Like I have a community.
Yeah.
I have a community that's like, yeah, girl, you're with us. You're, whatever.
Quietness is kept for all my criticism of hashtag outrage or whatever. The shit with R. Kelly, this is a success.
I'm totally at peace with that. I'm sure some people are going to be like, how are you at peace with that, but not at peace, I don't know. I'm going to continue to explore it.
It changed something.
But it did change something. And I just feel like R. Kelly is not remorseful. He's actively engaging in reckless, abusive, criminal behavior.
Right.
And I've said that. But, I don't have, so like if I am anti something or for something, it really just affects my personal like walk and how I navigate my life because I am not engaged in social media. So I don't get the affirmation and the sense of belonging when you're on the side of right.
Right.
Whatever right is for the moment. So that means I have to like think about things and I feel them a little more because if I say I'm anti something, like I'm committing to a lifestyle, not just a social media movement.
Right. You don't have the built-in confirmation bias.
No.
You don't have the built-in fear of dissension either. Like we had a conversation where I was like, do we even want to talk about this on our show? Because I've already I joked about dude at the beginning of the episode that has posted like on multiple occasions about problematic faves. But it's like I had to think about it like, man, I know there's a lot of people who have important voices in the Black podcast community and just communities that I, associate with that have set the standard of fuck Charlemagne forever, no conversations about it. And I, as the, I'm not a contrarian like on purpose. I just don't jump in too easily. I got to think about the entire thing. And then you, as a person that doesn't have skin in the game,
I just
you
I don't I care about being aligned with my own personal truths and not the truths of others.
Yeah.
So when
But-
you
but that's-
mention
but
that,
but
there
yeah.
are a lot of folks who who are big in the game that may not appreciate us even having this discussion, right?
Right.
Because no decisions are being made. We're just talking about it the way we would talk about it if we weren't recording. That would upset some folks. I'm like, fuck it. I don't know them. I don't follow them.
Right.
They're not able to
But
follow
see,
me.
you have no alignment.
No shade,
Right.
Because I don't exist in the social media spheres that they exist in.
And you don't have an alignment at all, versus I have an alignment that I am in conflict with consistently because of how outrage culture is working. Like, I have to consistently stop myself and say, yeah, but that don't make sense though. And yeah, but what about this? And
well, that's what I was saying
y'all
earlier.
doing
I don't
X, Y,
want
and Z?
to, and I don't want to exist. I don't feel comfortable existing in any spaces where I can't say, hold up, this doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
I'm uncomfortable with something. And if you are so intolerable that my
That shit can get you
discomfort
canceled.
disgusts you, like, I don't know if that says much about me, but it says a lot of things about you. And the first thing it says is, I don't want to be around you. To me, it says, I don't want to be around you.
Right.
I think if you're really committed to the ideals that motivate you to silence anyone for any given reason, then you should be equally as committed to sharing those truths with other people in a way that they can understand them. And then we can move forward, like I said, as a collective
Yeah.
for the good.
You
If
should be
are-
committed to the work.
You should be-
Motherfuckers, you know what it is?
yes.
People
You
are
should
only
be committed
to
to the work.
celebration. They're only committed to the celebration. They're only committed to the rah-rah, to the party. They're not committed to the after party. They're not committed to the party planning. I've been saying this since Trayvon Martin got shot. Motherfuckers ain't coming to the streets. Like, they'll come to the
See, but
streets
you
for the
do
march.
a lot of the work, so I don't want
But
to
yeah,
come
and
for
that's why I
anybody.
st- and I will forever, especially as
my
I-
track record in doing the work is not nearly
Well, you
as
make it
strong
possible
as
for me to
yours
do
and-
work, babe.
and
You make it possible for
some
me to do
other
work.
folks.
But it's always skewed my attitude towards people that talk a good game. If I've never heard your name, if your name doesn't ring bells in the streets, especially as social media has become more and more significant to the oeuvre of wokeness, the woke zeitgeist doesn't have to have anything to do with action. You know what I'm saying? There are so many really woke people with some snappy, great memes and some really like tweets that ain't did shit in the streets in all this time. Ain't did a damn thing. Ain't lifted a finger. Ain't went to an event. Ain't donated $1.
That is probably true.
You know?
I know that to be true. Like I said, I just want to operate in spaces where we can have healthy conversations.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in a sea of pick-me's who are, eager to choose a side just for affiliation and acceptance,
Right.
versus true commitment
To whatever the ideology.
to whatever it is. So,
And that's the other thing is that, we're talking about people's identities. Because we're talking about people's identities, there will always be strong reactions. You can't just tell a person a part of their identity is incorrect. That's why R. Kelly still hasn't fully lost everything. He's closer now, thankfully, but he hasn't fully lost everything. That's why Charlemagne is so polarizing, because there's some people that really, really love him, and some people that really, really hate him. And pretty much any social issue, once you've attached that social issue to who you are as a person, it's very hard to disentangle that. It's hard to take that out of context. And that's kind of what, we were talking about before, when people forget their history. Like, real quick, and then we'll move on, or maybe close out, because this ended up taking well past our old
Yeah,
record.
and it's the first day of school tomorrow.
Right.
So
We
we
didn't
have
get
to
to talk
get to
about that
bed.
shit. But like, so like, R. Kelly shit again. We all remember him marrying a 16-year-old Aaliyah when he was 29. We all remember that shit. And the most we said was, oh, that's weird. that was about as much as like happened. And then there was enough murmur and outcry to stop it. That I think he got annulled. I don't know the full story.
I don't think he got it annulled for outcry. I think like her parents. I think it was like
somebody finally stepped in and
in-house
said,
kinda,
"All right,
yeah.
this is too much." But so like that was a thing that was real. That was not done in secret. That was not done behind anybody's back. Nobody turned a blind eye to it. We all looked at it and said, "I guess." And like that is like until we got to get into that murky deep water of how we got here. You know, my cousin, I think I told you the story that my cousin was 16 years old and was in an R. Kelly video. You know what I'm saying? And we celebrated that shit. We as a family, we were like, "Oh, look at such and such in the video."
Yes.
She's holding the big ass spotlight in the one of the old videos, might be Vibe. It's whatever R. Kelly video. It's bluish.
I don't know. That's
she's holding one of the
problematic
big
on
ass
so many
spotlights, right? And she's 16 years old, just turned 16. And that wasn't the only thing she did with him. I don't know what happened. I hope my cousin was safe, but like that was a real thing that people just let happen. But today in 2018, we all have this righteous indignation as if none of us were a part of the problem. And because of that, the problem will persist. That's my main point. Is that until we are all willing to kind of go internal and look at the issues that create a R. Kelly, a Charlemagne, a XXX Tentacion, a Bill Cosby. Well, I feel Bill Cosby's just really truly a predator. I don't think he had anything back. Whatever, you get my point. It's all these monsters of race and gender and homophobia, whatever, they are not born of our dreams. They're born of our actions and inactions. And I hate that people think the only action required is a like and a share and a retweet. And maybe I'm overplaying that because I feel a certain way about it. But that just
No, I don't
bothers
think
me.
you're overplaying it. I'm happy you're able to feel these moments of silence where I'm like lost in thought. Like, what kind of person am I? Am I a good person or am I a bad person? You know, do I tune into the Breakfast Club or do I not listen? You know, because like I said, I mean, it's if I in real life, I'm rolling my eyes at myself. Don't worry. If I in real life silence somebody, then like because I don't have the social media community, it really means like I'm losing something. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like I'm not filling the void with now like all these ability to kiki with, you know, like-minded people.
Right.
You know. So yeah, but I, you know, I always, you know, try to make decisions that have me on the side of right. I just am in a place with not just this, but a lot of things where, you know, I feel like, you know, putting your finger on right is just is easier.
You can't put a
said
finger
than
on
done.
it. You can't put a finger
I think
on
that'll
it.
be my last phrase.
You
for
got to
the night.
splash around in that motherfucker. Right isn't in a spot that you can put a finger on.
Yeah. But did you
But
get it? It was like put a finger on it, which is like a little cliche.
To
You
kind
can't put a finger. Yeah.
The theme
And
of
then
cliches
like, you know,
had.
on the side of right.
I see what you were doing.
I'm not trying, folks.
I'm going to
It
use
just
that
it just comes
whackness
natural.
you just gave us to
It just
try
comes
to
natural. I'm in full mommy mode, and I think that's why it's happening.
maybe
because
you're just thinking of all the positive things you want to say to your son.
yes, because school is starting tomorrow. Got to equip my sons with all the goodness so
Right.
that they make the right decisions.
They don't become monsters. And
So
they
they are
don't
never
develop
a
toxic masculinity
problematic
habits.
phase.
Right.
Yeah.
So we had all kinds of mommy and parenting shit to talk about, and then some school shit. We gonna leave all that at the wayside.
We're gonna talk about it next week,
but we
we're
will
not gonna talk about this kind of stuff.
about today's shady moment in history as a final palate cleanser.
This is where you can tune out.
No. If you tuned out this whole time on this very last episode of Married to Shade,
don't say that. Don't say that, because there's like two people who will hang on. They get
we're gonna
it.
attract
They
the wrong
understand
audience.
the complexity of things.
Like we saying all this shit now, but when we
No,
start getting,
I have great hope in our current audience. I think they will judge us appropriately.
Mm-hmm.
They will understand we are a work in progress, and they will come back. So this won't be the last show.
I hope.
Let me work on it. Let me work it out.
We'll
folks.
see.
Let me work it out.
So today in 2005, so we have our most recent shady moment in history ever. Lance Armstrong won his 7th and I think final Tour de France.
Oh gosh, he can be a problematic thing.
This motherfucker cheated his ass off.
He
in a
cheated
way,
too. He won cheating.
Right. In a way only possible for white men. Like only a white man can cheat to the level of Lance Armstrong.
That was superior cheating.
Like it's like I did, like he cheated to the point where he's like, it's not cheating because I did it. Like that's like I feel like he probably said some shit like that.
Yeah.
This is his 7th Tour de France, his 7th in a row. I think it was his last.
7th in a row. Like, I mean, how did you sleep at night, dude?
Yeah, it was 7. It was his 7th and last. 7 years later, ironically, was when he finally got caught and stripped of all his shit. And I don't feel like reading the whole thing after that. I just remember the balls on him, like the picture he took at ESPN.
Didn't he have a balls thing?
I saw that wasn't on purpose. He has
I
one
was just
testicle
making sure.
because he had testicular
It's not
cancer.
nice.
And that was like part of his like movement back into prominence, along with cheating to win this shit.
Yeah.
But he like after he got caught, he took the picture in ESPN of him sitting on the couch, just very casually, like just kind of looking to the distance, and above him is a frame with all 7 of his championship yellow jackets. You remember that shit?
Picture.
And it's like, damn, you got some balls. You got 3 balls.
Let's not
got
do the
one
balls.
physically?
I mean, it's just a little uncomfortable with it.
It
adds. Oh, I had another one. I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it. I'm trying to disrupt my own harm, my own issues.
Right. But yeah, so that's Lance Armstrong gets today's shady moment in history. That is pretty much it on this extra large episode and last episode of Married to Shade.
Don't say it. We'll be back.
We will be back in 2 weeks, apologizing for everything we said on this episode to whoever was offended.
I don't know if I'll be apologizing. I'll let you know where I am, but I'm not gonna apologize. Not because I don't apologize, but just because
you don't. I'm married to you. You kind of don't apologize.
No, I do. I do apologize. I don't. I know for some things I apologize.
Yeah, right.
I don't know what those things are, but I know I do apologize.
But yeah, so once again, you can find us at Black Astronauts Podcast on Twitter. You can email your opinions on all the things we said tonight at blackastronights@gmail.com. You can find me at Feek Blerdman, FIQ_BLERDMAN on Twitter. Check out the Patreon, Black Astronauts Podcast /Patreon. I'm pretty sure that is it. And with that done, baby, I love you very much.
Love you too.
Peace.
Peace.